Hello everyone. So Tesla reported bad earnings. They are currently down 4% in the after hours. Netflix also reported bad earnings and they fell very dramatically as well. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about what this means for the overall market. What the next steps are for the SPY, the NASDAQ, the IWM. We're going to take a look at the large tech stocks and put it all together. So without further ado, let's get started with the video. So number one, I want to start with the VIX. So the VIX, we know, has an inverse relationship to the market. If the VIX is falling, that generally means that the market should be rising. Okay. Currently, the VIX is in a falling wedge pattern. This candle today basically solidified this falling wedge, and falling wedge patterns are extremely bullish patterns because they fall, they tighten up, and then they explode to the upside. If we get an explosion to the upside on the VIX, then that means that the market is going to start to fall. So currently, the VIX is creating a very bullish setup here. Okay. So we've been looking at how the VIX basically is falling below major levels of support. And as we get closer and closer to these levels of support, basically it means that there's going to be a top in the market. So essentially, right, the VIX can continue falling lower sharply, right? It can still fall. Right now it's at 16.44, right? It could fall tomorrow to 16, and then the day afterward it could break below 16 very easily, right? And it would still be within the confines of this falling wedge pattern. So technically, it can still continue to fall for a few more days, which means that the market in general can still be bullish or neutral for a few more days as well. So basically, like, as long as it doesn't cross, it's very, 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 very rare that when you make a falling wedge that you end up breaking below the level and start trading below this trend line. So if that ends up happening, that would be very, very overextended and the market would be very bullish at that point. But given the fact that we're riding this lower trend line here, there's still more room to go to the downside on the VIX before we get very overextended. But overall, this setup is a bullish one for the VIX. So just keep that in mind. The VIX has a few more days to go. And as we get closer and closer to 16, right? The last time we were at 16. So we know what happened back in February. This marked a top in the market. We know what happened back in December and January. This also marked a top in the market. But back in the end of October and the beginning of November, what ended up happening was different on the market. So we have to look at the chart of the SPY to see what ended up happening at that point of the VIX. So the VIX, what I was trying to show was the end of October into November. So here is the thing here. What ended up happening was the VIX started to fall very sharply, right? End of October, but it ended up making another leg up before consolidating here for a bit and then falling. And this took basically all of November into the beginning of December. This move to the upside, consolidation, and then we ended up falling towards the end of November. So that is the only thing here that could end up happening on the SPY. We could have another leg up, but it would be very, very rare because the VIX is in a very bullish pattern here. And the fact that the market is also just having trouble sitting like right below resistance. So the SPY is having trouble. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the SPY now. So once again, the VIX is in a falling wedge, which is a very bullish pattern, right? The SPY is in a rising wedge, which is a very bearish pattern. So this pattern that we see right here, the SPY should be falling lower, right? So, but technically, right, the VIX, so now pragmatically and technically, the VIX does have a few more days to go to the upside, which means that the market in general can have a few more days of consolidation or bullishness. So neutral to bullish for the next few days while the VIX continues to fall. Okay, does that make sense? So the other main point is that the SPY is continuing to have trouble at 415. We're not getting any solid closes once again above any major level of resistance. We break above it, but we haven't closed above anything, right? But today what we saw was support levels at 412.50, 412 were holding perfectly. And buying those dips worked out really, really well. But once again, we got pretty close. It looked towards the end of the day, it looked very, very bullish. All right. But then we had a big dramatic move to the downside towards the end of the day. And we just basically sort of evened out above 413.50. But overall, you know, it was trading very, very close to 415. And then boom, we just fell very sharply. So once again, you know, things just need a solid close above these levels, but we're holding above levels of support technically, right? We're getting multiple closes above these levels, but once again, I mean, this is, the VIX is showing a bullish formation. The SPY is showing a bearish formation. We see Tesla and Netflix reporting bad earnings. They're down. And a lot of this move upwards is dependent on a few select stocks. So that is not generally something that we want to see, because we want to see the overall market strong, right? We're not seeing that right now. And basically, you know, the main levels that we need to continue to watch for are 415, 417, and then 418. So if we can close and break above 416, right, then 418 would be on the table. But, and then this is going to be the main level of resistance here. This high right here on February 2nd at 418.31. So that is going to be the big one. And once again, you know, momentum is still clearly bullish, right? We're still, you know, the trend is bullish, 100%. There's no denying that. But we're failing to break at levels of resistance multiple times. This is a resistance from back in February, and it's been quite some time. We are having trouble breaking above. That's why my overall bias has been bearish, like on a midterm, right? Like over the, like a few weeks, you know, I think that the market is bearish, right? But in the short term, if levels of support are being held and there are setups that are bullish, by all means, we're going to be taking them. But once again, the VIX, bullish. Tesla and Netflix reported bad earnings. The SPY is failing. The VIX has a falling wedge. The SPY has a rising wedge. So things are piling up here for the bears, right? There's many, many reasons to be bearish. But once again, price action is still remaining to be bullish. Can't argue with that. But again, you know, it just makes more sense. The risk reward is so much higher to the short side than it is to the long side in terms of swings. So the one thing that I do want to show you guys is Apple technically now did close above major levels of resistance, and it showed some strength here. So pragmatically, Apple showed some strength. There's no denying that. And a lot of that has to do with a lot of news. Apple is getting a lot of good news recently. They're reporting a lot of good news. So that's another reason why this is happening. But yeah, Apple is definitely showing strength. But when you look at Microsoft is, once again, you know, reversed off the top here. Google, we already know how Google is. Google clearly does not look that strong. Amazon, you know, it's still wicking. This isn't a huge, complete, strong close. This is very similar to what happened. This candle on Amazon is very similar to this candle here that we saw on April 13th on Microsoft. So I'm not entirely, you know, convinced about this move on Amazon, but you know, regardless, technically, you know, it does look strong. But Netflix clearly does not. Tesla clearly does not. And a lot of these stock, Meta also clearly does not. So a lot of these stocks are showing weakness. Amazon and Apple are the only stocks that are showing strength so far during this move, and that is not really what we want to see. Oh, especially take a look at Nvidia. Nvidia still needs to close above these highs here, but then when we look at AMD is also, you know, still taking a hit. So the main strength is still coming out of a few select stocks, and that's not what we want to see. So once again, you know, we want to see a collective strength from multiple different stocks. But a lot of it, like a lot of this move upward, is also coming from the banks. The banks got a big boost as well. JP Morgan, Citibank, basically all of these different banks that were taking a huge hit, they started doing really well and they bounced because they reported better than reported earnings, estimated earnings. But take a look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ as a whole is not doing too well. You know, it looks very similar to the chart of Microsoft. We had a big red day and bounced off, right? And just in general, this is just still consolidating. We're failing to break above levels of resistance, but we're holding levels of support pretty simply. And the IWM, very similar setup here. Red day, we closed above. I mean, we opened above, and now we're just consolidating. But overall, it's very difficult for it's very difficult to be bullish overall. The worst case then is what we saw with the VIX is back in November, October, all right, where we get one more leg up and then we consolidate for a month. Back in October 2021, right here. Worst case, we would get another leg up and we would consolidate, and then we would end up having a big drop afterward. So that is now basically the worst case. So if we talk about the worst case, right? The worst case would then be for the worst case for bears is for everyone that's bearish right now, right? And my bias at the moment is bearish because everything is pointed in that direction. What could end up happening, we need to have an open mind, is we could get a leg up past 418, past 420, get some sort of a retest back to this trend line, continue up, and then from here it would be a really it would just be one of the most obvious shorts in my opinion if things continue like this, because then this would basically pump into May, and May is known for sell in May and go away. So if we get another leg up, then it doesn't look great. But I mean, this is what the plan would be. If we get another leg up, we're shorting the hell out of that leg up. We're not going long, and then expecting some consolidation and then like a drop afterward. So if we do short right up here, we would get some puts for at least 2 or 3 months out, because we don't want a repeat of October 2021, November 2021, where we consolidated for a month and then we ended up falling towards the end of November. So we want to get some puts that are going to have some time on them. So I hope that did justice. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I tried to give a good holistic view of what was going on. I gave my thoughts on everything. So I hope that helped. And if it did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what I can do better. Yeah, I didn't realize there was so for ads, right? I click ads and it just automatically just put a bunch of ads on the video. I had no idea. So I have to try to understand how many ads are being put, because I don't want to be bombarded with it. I didn't realize that was happening. So thank you for that. And yeah, please let me know if there's anything else I could do to make this better and to make you guys have a better understanding and a fun time with watching everything as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Once again, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.